Hi everybody, so this is the first of two tutorials where I'm going to talk through my thought process with the development annotations. So you can see from the sheet here, I've added my timber tones, my Jarrah type look and my Tasmanian oak type look. I've also added a little bit of tone to an angle bracket and a handle and a screw and some different inlays and so on and so forth. So what I'm looking to do now is to start with my development annotations. So remember, you can annotate many different things, but as far as development goes, we're looking at how we can improve the manufacturability, make it easier or use a more suitable manufacture process, change the design for that. We can maybe develop to save money in cost. We can develop to make the product be more functional or more aesthetic, to look nicer and more in keeping with the area. So there's many different things. So we always start with the development side of things. And as I've always said to you, development is a difficult thing to do, but you need to justify the changes. That means that you don't just say, Jarrah looks good. You've got to say that it would look better than something else for a particular reason. So I'm obviously going to start off with, the top. That seems to be the logical place for me. So I'm going to say here that alternating timbers, they allow an even tonal range, so the tone of the timbers. Okay, nice, simple, easy start there with my small arrowhead. There we go here. So Jarrah, and I'm going to put Tas Oak. Don't need to write Tasmania all the time. Widths and widths, add line. That's one of the principles of design. Strength to the design. That's what I'm actually saying. Okay, so that's my reason for, I think those lines look strong. They're strong lines. Now look, we've changed this here, so I'm going to say here uneven widths of timber, which they are, and I'm going to say that I think that they're stylish, because that's what I actually think they do, and non-symmetrical over the length. And I actually like that look, and my client, I believe, would as well, from what they've said in their brief, by making this uneven. So let's have a little look about what we've got going on here. And I'm not really going to annotate these. I will annotate these. But as far as the development goes, we refer to this, and this was a round over here. This is referred to as a bull nose, or you can call it a double round over. And that bull nose strengthens top dash bottom edges, which it does. It stops it splitting out and chipping. Okay, so that's got us started on there. Here, I think I'll say that the wider Jarrah board, and I'm going to say that adds more warmth and richness. More warmth and richness to the design. Okay, because that's what I actually think it does. So let's now then move on and look at things like well, let's look at this handle here. Or we'll start with these handles, I should say, because we've got, let's put something in about this round knob. So I'm going to say round knob gives a clean, so a clean look. Uncomplicated, clean look, you know, don't know if it's classy enough or not, but I don't need to worry about that. This, the black handle, something a bit different. And I can say that that's a very modern, seems very popular at the moment. Does black for handles and knobs. Very modern style to suit client. So my client has said in their brief that's what they want. So that's that there. Don't forget how you do your arrowheads, really important. Then I think I'll come down here and I shall say that stainless steel. So we've got a stainless steel option here, handle, and I believe that that gives quite an expensive and a classy look. Oh, let's call it an expensive aesthetic. Remember what we've said, you know, use technical language where you can. So I'm pretty good with those. Let's look down this right hand side. We've got a beveled edge going on there. We've got a slight undercut there and a square edge. We've got a large undercut there. I think that the idea of that is, and I like that when I did that. So this this large undercut, and that gives lightness. So it takes away a weighty look to design. That's what it actually does. Okay, it's not as bulky. So that's a good thing there. So let's just have a look at this drawer. So I've got this drawer frame, this drawer carcass, and I've got the top on the front rather separately. And this front's in Jarrah, and it's, you know, somewhere along the line we've ended up with Tasmanian oak for the front rail, and I'll add some information there a bit later on. So I'm going to say there that the separate front, so that separate front, it makes it easier to manufacture. Which it does, because we can make the drawer itself fit this drawer carcass, and then we just put the front on afterwards. So that's even better. Now, I've got this drawer here. I'm going to say here that 2 small drawers, which is what I've got here in my design concept. 2 small drawers could be replaced, which they could be replaced with 1 large. Okay, that's still going to give me a large area of storage, but it's giving me better storage options, so I can put larger items in. Better storage options. So I'm saying already, I'm putting that thought out there that you know, 2 smaller drawers could be replaced with a large one, could give me better storage options. Okay, here's my tabletop there. We've got a rounded corner, and that can reduce the risk of splitting. So again, that's a not necessarily an aesthetical thing. If we, you know, that could be 5 mil, the radius of that, very small, but it will reduce the possibility of splitting. So here is a cross section through that side. Originally, this base was going to be pinned to the bottom, which is quite common in cheaper pieces of furniture. It's just glued and pinned. But I've rebaited this. So this rebaited base, and I'm going to say that that is stronger than pin and glue, because it is stronger than pin and glue. What else can we say? Well, I'm looking here, we've got these symmetrical, very symmetrical through the center inlays in acrylic. I'm not really too concerned what's going down here, because I've got some options and then a little bit of development here, but I've got this symmetrical along the length inlays. Well, I quite like dropping these down and having the non-symmetrical inlays. And I'm going to say fitting with top styling, because, you know, we've gone for something a little bit different here or here. So that's why I like those. They still look balanced. You know, when we're looking at the principal elements of design, it still provides balance. Just because it's not symmetrical, you know, it does still provide balance. So let's just look here. We don't really need to do, I can see I've got my dowel joint and so on and so forth. So that's pretty well set up. Really not far off now. I think I might, you know, this little foot here is a little bit something a little bit different. So I'm going to say that this foot, I think that's quite subtle as subtlety to the leg, which I think it does. It's something that's there. It's a little bit different. Here I'm thinking about a Singer taper to the front and side. So here is a double taper, which I will annotate later, but I think going on from there, I'm going to say a single taper to front and side of leg, and it lightens the design. So basically what I'm saying there, when it lightens the design, I'm saying it doesn't look as blocky and as bulky if it was a square leg in section, or if it was a single taper at the front, because when you look that way it would still be square and blocky. So I've said we'll taper there and we'll taper the inside there, looking from that way. So whether you look that way, that way, that way, or from the back, we've got this taper that lightens the design. And that's what we tried to create there with the top, okay? I've worked through from my acrylic inlays, and I know that I'm going to go for a Jarrah inlay. And I think that's going to give a cleaner look. So I will say here, Jarrah inlay. I think it gives a more classy, a high quality. And there's nothing wrong with using acrylic, but like I say, for this design, it's clean look, or aesthetic, I could say. Clean look to legs. And I'm thinking I'd have an inlay in this front, an inlay in the side, so, you know, that would give a cleaner look. So let's just see what's going on over here. And don't be scared to add an annotation of development to the finished table. You can see how the page is building up. I have changed this to Jarrah, and I'm going to say here, look, that the additional inlay texture, so we've got the inlay texture of Jarrah and Tasmanian oak, it will add contrast. So it's going to add contrast of one timber to another, one timber tone to another. We've got the grain as well. and the texture. So it adds contrast to timbers. So we've got contrast going on there as well, which is pretty fantastic, okay? Now, one last thing I'm going to add, because I didn't put it on the development itself, is I've gone for this single draw, and I'll talk about that later, because I have mentioned it there, but I've gone for a single piece of timber across this front rail, which is going to allow, if I cut this accurately and carefully, I should get my beautiful grain running right the way across the front. Look, you could make that, a Tasmanian oak essentially frame, and then put a Jarrah front on it for that front panel, to bring out the top and add beautiful contrast. Fantastic. But I've gone for a single piece of timber straight across the top. So I'm just going to say there that single rail, okay, has been cut to allow grain to flow. So I want the grain to flow through the design. And I think that if you use a timber, whatever it might be, let's say it's a Jarrah rail and the bulk of this is Jarrah or something like that, to pick up the grain, the dark grain of the Jarrah running through will look pretty blooming spectacular, And even if you put something that's wavy there, where you can take the rail and then cut it on the bandsaw, wavy, and then get a thin piece, maybe 2 millimeters wide, of a different contrasting material, glue and clamp it, and then cut it again and put a different material and maybe cut it for a third time. You're going to get this long length that you can then cut that way carefully on the bandsaw, and you'll find that this wave, within reason, it's a difficult thing to do but not impossible, will line up. So looking at my sheet then, that more or less completes. I'm happy there with what I've written right the way from the top, where the changes have been made, the development changes. I fully justified them. I've said why I've made those changes, to increase the aesthetics or save money and so on and so forth. And yeah, I would use stock material, which I'll state that when I do my general annotations, to save money, so we're not machining down and getting a load of waste. And we've got, the furniture part of it in the handles and the construction of the drawer. And okay, I'm not really going to develop these widening joints or frame joints or anything like that. But that is the first stage of the annotation, and the most important stage, which says why I have made the development changes I have. Remember, refer to the marking key, refer to the assessment sheet. Part 2 will be coming soon, and that will be the application of general annotations. Have a go at that. Good luck. Thanks very much for watching.